No.
Another golden ticket.
That's a winner!
Good Saturday morning, everyone. Welcome to Casino Queen. Man, this place is hopping. People are in action. I love it. I can't wait to make my bets after the show today. Yesterday, I had a chance to talk to Dwayne Colucci from Las Vegas. He is the sports and racebook manager in Las Vegas at the Rampart Casino. Can't wait for you guys to hear this interview. Hello, everyone. David Sharp here. I'm here with my friend Dwayne Colucci from the Rampart Casino Sportsbook Manager out in Vegas. What is going on, my man?
David, great to join you again. And, it's a busy time of the season here in Las Vegas. We have the Raiders that are playing the NFL season naturally. As a bookmaker, it's our favorite time. You have the college football going on, NFL. Baseball playoffs are starting to rev up, and there's been a lot of interest in the baseball throughout the summer, just because of the way it's been playing out with the Dodgers, Yankees, Mets, Houston Astros, a lot of popular teams, St. Louis Cardinals, all fighting, as well as the Braves. So, it's just an amazing time of the season to be a bookmaker in Las Vegas, and it's a lot of fun leading into the NFL season, which has been great thus far.
All right, so let's before we get into actual sports, how's the podcast going? And let's talk about you and what you've been doing.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of promotions out at the Rampart. We're ready for football. Podcast is going well. I'll have a new episode out this month, and we were sidetracked a little. We had some differences, and I had some obligations elsewhere, but definitely going well. The Twitter handle has been off the hook. I'm always out there giving out valuable information when we break the lines at the Rampart and South Point, which is very important now using the social media tool, David. So, I'm out there also with VSiN. I do Tooley's Thoroughbred Takes every Saturday, where I'm writing an article and giving horse racing selections, out to the public. And that's always a lot of fun. I hang my hat on the horse racing. I love it. You know that. And, it's just been great. The social media. We're running also a video on the Rampart Casino Facebook, Instagram, and website, where I do give you a little 2-minute segue into the NFL happenings for that current week. So that's always a lot of fun. We're filming that usually on Mondays and Thursdays. So you could check out the Rampart's Instagram, Facebook, etc. Also, I retweet it. So there's a little video clip each week. And it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, the podcast, I'm definitely eager to get back to, because we had a little couple of months hiatus there, but the If M Reverse podcast is great. It's a lot of fun. I'm going to give a lot of information out on this one coming up, so definitely tune into that. And like I said, the Rampart has so many promotions, David. We run $50 parlay card promotions. We have the hot dog card back. So a lot happening. Very busy time of the season for me.
Yeah, beautiful property. I can't wait to come out and see you in person. I have been there, and I have not been there since you've done the remodeling of the sports book. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. You have to come out and check it out. The video wall is just incredible. It's such a, the old book was a throwback. And I really prided myself on that old book. That's where I started under Sid Diamond, Eric St. Clair, that amazing bookmaking lineage. And, we had like a social club feel. We had very few individual TVs. We did have some projector screens, but we were more of a mom and pop book where we would take the sharper action. And, Sid Diamond always prided himself on that, having the lottery where guys would line up for the bets. And that was always a lot of fun. You met so many different characters, and that's where I got my experience, David, with some of the professional handicappers that are still out there today, whether it was writing their tickets in the beginning or actually, creating the lines and moving the lines according to their bets. So that was always a lot of fun in the old Rampart Race at Sportsbook. But the new book is just incredible. It's state of the art. We have 75 chairs and seats for the viewing public. We have a beautiful bar area, 50-foot video wall. It's just, it's a great time. And we pride ourselves that we do have, a separate video wall for the horse racing as well as the sporting events. And, the public really has taken a liking to it. We're packed each and every Saturday and Sunday during the NFL season. During Vegas Golden Knight games, we get a tremendous response during the hockey season, as well as the Aces. They were very popular coming down the stretch and bringing a title home to the city of Las Vegas. So, the book is definitely hopping at all times, and we can definitely accommodate larger crowds, which is great as opposed to the old book. And the feel is just off the hook. I'm sure your friends have told you about it. I know you have several connections out here that we pride ourselves on customer service at the Rampart Casino. And with this fabulous book backing us, it's just tremendous.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the new book. And man, once I plant myself there, I'm probably not going to move for the 3 or 4 days that I'm there. That's a guarantee. I promise. I don't even know. Can I sleep in the chair in the book? I mean, does it lean back a little?
Security's very kind. They'll escort you up to your hotel room eventually. But yeah, we have a fabulous staff at the Rampart and always accommodating our guests.
A story I'll tell you in the future a little more about. But you remember the old Caesars Sportsbook? Back in
of course.
They had a little. They had a little snack bar right next to the book.
Yes.
And I remember my dad took me on one of my first trip. I was underage, and he would get the racing forms, and he liked to play poker. So I'll get in more detail another time, but it's a pretty good story. So here I am, a teenager, and he set me with the little rail into the snack area, right? And you can see all the TVs. You can see all the TVs, and I got the sheets, and every hour my dad would come check on me, and security comes up and goes, "Hey man, where's your parents? Where's your parents, kid?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm just eating a hot dog here, sir. And I've got the racing forms in front of me. And in Vegas, you can't even have the papers in front of you, if you're underage. So I mean, back then anyway, that's what they told me. So we went and found my dad, and he goes, "Yeah," he goes, "I just gave him some money to get something to eat." That's my information. And so he planted me, my dad. Fantastic. This is my introduction to Vegas. I'm sitting next in the little area of eating with the little railing right next to me where I can see all the TVs while he's playing poker all day. And that's my first experience of Las Vegas. So,
David, Caesars was rough. Caesars had the roughest security because we vacationed here every year, and I would get thrown out of that sports book constantly. I could blend into other books, the Barbary Coast across the street back in the day. But I remember the Caesars setup, and they had a fabulous snack bar there. The burgers were off the hook. Plus, you had the buffet was right behind you.
Right behind it.
Day. But, luckily, that's when you had to start dabbling when you were mine and your age in video games. They had a game room, which doesn't even exist nowadays in most casinos. So, Caesars was the toughest security. So I can relate to that. I got thrown out of that book many a times, David.
But I love my dad for bringing me and just hanging me out to check on me every hour on the hour to see if I needed any bets made. This is great.
Right?
He was my father of the year. I don't know about anybody else's, but he was my father of the year.
Awesome. That's a great story.
So you've been absolutely busy, especially since football, right? Football's the mainstay, right? With the big betting comes in early. How's week 1, week 2 been for you guys?
Oh, it's been fabulous. I'll be honest with you, very tough on the public. When you start to see teams like the Giants, David, the Jets, they're winning games, and they were very projected low win totals. And, you combine that with certain injuries, you're starting to see a one-way flow and trend towards the bookmakers because these games are super hard to handicap. Outside of this last Monday, naturally, we're getting mashed with Buffalo Bill money. They are right now, the favorite at the Rampart in the South Point to win the Super Bowl and naturally the AFC. But, these games have been very, very difficult. Very few people backing the Cowboys last weekend after that pitiful performance. And then you had the Dak Prescott injury, which, you had to take into consideration. And Cooper Rush had a fabulous game and shut down a Super Bowl caliber team in Cincinnati. So, very hard on the public. Our whole percentage has been off the hook the first 2 weeks. And I'm sure a lot of bookmakers, have the same sentiments, but it will come back down to earth. The college weekend was very difficult for us. We didn't make any money at all on Saturday when you had several of those favorites, especially teams like USC coming in late, where when you're in, we're in a different neck of the woods than you guys. So we have to book according to our proximity of the, Los Angeles area, Arizona areas. You do get extra money backing these teams. So we have to make severe adjustments on these lines, similar to the Yankees, I imagine, on the East Coast with the books moving their lines towards them, and the Mets when they start to win. And now also the Giants and Jets, they're going to see a lot of money on the East Coast with these teams playing a lot better, whereas we see Dodger, USC, and Los Angeles, Las Vegas action. Definitely, it's been good, though.
That's great. I mean, back here at the DraftKings at Casino Queen, we are right across the river from the ballpark, Busch Stadium, and I know that many people come and bet the Cardinals or either team, but mostly probably the Cardinals. Heavy action on the Cardinals before every Cardinal game, especially nowadays. And man, the props on Albert, he's crushing the props. Albert Pujols is absolutely crushing the props, and it's so much fun to watch. I know I'm going a little off here, but Albert is, man, it is so great to have him back. You should see back here in St. Louis how everybody just stands up for every time he's at bat, and just the excitement. Every TV, I work in the casino industry, and everybody is like, everything stops when he comes up to bat. So much fun here in St. Louis. I did want to talk a little baseball with you, so let's start with that. Are you guys watching that? Is there an Albert watch with you guys as a baseball fan?
Well, definitely. Not only that, but an Aaron Judge watch now. And,
sure.
I am a Los Angeles Dodger fan, so I know what Albert Pujols brings to the table and the respect in the clubhouse that he merits. Definitely one of the classiest acts I've ever seen in baseball. And now you do have this watch on Roger Maris and the American League record for Aaron Judge. And like you said, everybody is watching silence when these guys come up to bat. And especially in my shop, when we put them on the big screen, it's just total excitement. And, a lot of shops are hanging props on these guys. What date, how many, over under total homers, will Pujols do it or not? So definitely it adds to handle, and definitely it's an added attraction. And I could definitely understand in the St. Louis area how important this is, because that is a consummate baseball town, if not the the most forceful and fan-based town. St. Louis definitely hangs their hat on that. I understand it. There's definitely a watch on both players. Last night, Judge and Stanton were just incredible, costing the books again. I'll be honest with you. These guys are just phenomenal. The Dodgers, luckily, they split last night, but it's been tough booking baseball, David. We got crushed this year. And I'm sure Chris Andrews will tell you, I'm telling you, we're part of the same bookmaking team, and it's just been difficult. I tell you, the Dodgers, like I said, when you're covering the run line as well as winning 105 games, a Las Vegas bookmaker is getting his head handed to him. The Astros, a similar stretch. The Cardinals went on an incredible win streak to just, basically solidify their division as well. Then the Mets were hot. Then the Braves were hot. So streaky this year, where it was hard for the bookmakers to make concise lines to force action against these teams.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. You might be getting crushed, but if you move the line too much, you're not going to get the action on the other side, right? I mean,
well, if we make it, high enough, you're going to get buyback action. But then you're looking at 3-1s, 2.5-1s, and you're paying that out when they do lose. So it worked out a little with the Yankees. Things started to come back down to earth, but it never worked out with the Dodgers. I mean, they're almost impossible to beat. And yesterday, header. So, it's give a little, take a little, but you still had the Yankees comeback win, the Mets with the comeback win. And what you see, David, are just the parlays. I mean, I've seen players that are just parlaying all last week, Dodgers, Mets and Astros, and that was a very successful combination, and it continues to be. So, if you could knock one or two of the teams out, you get some parlay, hold percentage. But if not, it just continues to be like a winding road or a long running river where these teams just keep winning for the regular season to end. And we welcomed in football with open arms.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I'm sure you're aware of some crazy 25 team parlay that I've been hearing about. This guy hit for a $7 parlay that he could have hit for 1.2 million. He did press the cash out button. Are you aware of this?
Well, I know that other states here are allowed to do that, and they
Yeah,
have a company out here called Prop Swap that I think you could sell your ticket.
right.
But in Las Vegas, we don't grade tickets after they are until they are complete. So he would have been in a unique situation where he's betting on that last leg, the opposite side, and it's just it depends on if he had an underdog or a favorite, how you can hedge those bets. I know that DraftKings, FanDuel, some of these other corporations do allow that. Las Vegas, we're old school. We issue you a ticket. You could also bet on our mobile application, but we're not going to grade it and, do wheeling and dealing. That's against the gaming board regulations out here in Nevada, which are the strictest. And, they're very concise and appropriate with that. But I'm sure he could have dealt with Prop Swap. I know that's a company in Las Vegas. I'm sure there's several others out there now, similar to Proxies that are running, the picks for the Circa contest and the Westgate, etc. So, it's definitely a different scenario out here. And there's so much free play, with William Hill, Caesars Entertainment, DraftKings, and so forth, that they're just based totally on mobile application. They have brick and mortar shops like at the Meadowlands and so forth in New York, but it's a little different, their aspect. And they're definitely trying and lure you in with the mobile applications. And sometimes these guys are purchasing those $7 tickets on their free play. So, it's a lot different in Las Vegas as opposed to the dissemination in the other states right now. And I think that's a major factor with California as well. Not only that, but you have the Indian tribes now. They want a piece and they want to control the mobile applications. And I believe that the racetracks are entitled to a little something now. They've cornered the market basically since Arnold Schwarzenegger was in office. And that the Indians have gotten all the casino subsidiaries, and it destroyed the horse racing game in California because they just couldn't draw anything. I think the sports, it's right to be shared, but not just controlled by one, because tracks have to maintain. There's so many jobs, and you know that, David. Santa employs a mass amount of employees, backside workers, and then it continues on with Delmo, Los Alamitos. And if it isn't similar and you can't compete like with Churchill and New York with these fabulous purses, then it destroys another aspect of gaming and jobs and taxes.
All right. So while we're on horse racing, which you and I both absolutely love, we got a couple big races coming up today, and with the Cotillion, right? Pennsylvania Derby.
Yeah, those are coming up this weekend. You're right. Yes, we have the Pennsylvania Derby. We have the Cotillion, and just a fabulous field in that Pennsylvania Derby. I'll tell you right now. Cyberknife, Taiba, Zandon, just a stacked field, and definitely going to be difficult to handicap. I know Cyberknife in the Haskell beat Taiba already, but I was a little questioning Mike Smith's ride in that race. So it's going to be interesting, definitely, to see. And Zandon, he was possibly the best going into the Kentucky Derby. Epicenter was there as well. Don't get me wrong, but it's going to be interesting to see how he comes back after the Jim Dandy and the Travers. So, Chad Brown, he always has the aces up his sleeve, and definitely we're going to keep an eye on that. Taiba, I'm looking at this now. I think he was actually 5-2 in the Haskell. So we'll see. I believe he's 5-2 morning line here as well in the Pennsylvania Derby. White Barrio's in there. Tawny Port, Fabulous field. This is an amazing field, and it's going to draw a great handle towards Parks Racing this weekend. Then you also have Secret Oath, the Dwayne Lucas Super Filly. Nest is not there, naturally. Nest is going to go right to the Kentucky, right to the Breeders' Cup, and she is just an amazing animal.
Unbelievable.
She dominated at Saratoga, and just what an account for herself in the Belmont Stakes.
Yeah.
Follow it up with the double at Saratoga. This is a really, really nice female, and definitely will be the favorite in the distaff. I wouldn't take on the boys because Flightline is there. That is a super, super animal right now. He's going to be about. I can't see him more than 1 to 2 in the Classic, even with Epicenter. So it's going to be a great Breeders' Cup, but we're going to have big favorites.
Yeah, I want to tell you, Flightline is so impressive, and it's neat to see, right? It could be incredible to watch, but it does open up value for other horses when you have a 1 to 2 shot. You like you say going into that. So I will use the horse in my pick 3s, pick 4s, pick 5s, whatever's available. But I'm not going to key off a 1 to 2 shot. Me personally,
right.
I'm going to try to find some value. But Flightline is so impressive to watch, just like Nest. I mean, we've got 2 absolute superstars for the Breeders' Cup this year. I mean, it's going to be great. It might be one of the best. Might be one of the best recent classics that we've seen with this horse.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and it took John Sadler a long time to break, out in the Breeders' Cup. So, the horse is moving again across country. Naturally, has shipped well. We've seen, Flightline win in New York. Went back to California, now going to go to Keeneland. We'll see, how he responds. I don't believe there's going to be any problems. Epicenter will be the second choice, but you do have a few others that will jump on the scene late. And I definitely think it's going to be an interesting classic, but it's going to be a lot of Flightline money, as well as in the distaff, a lot of Nest money. I'm not sure how the older fillies, but I do know there's some accomplished out there. Definitely Malatot comes to mind, ran a great race at Saratoga, and we definitely have a few others that can, compete. And there's a few that have fallen off the map. Well, she was bet very well at Sarah, just couldn't get the job done. So we know this Lucas filly is ultra game in Secret Oath. We're going to see how she responds. I'm going to give you a horse in that race, actually. In the Cotillion, I definitely think Gerrymander is going to bounce back. I'm so fond of Chad Brown and his accomplishments, David. And this horse, looking at an 8-1 morning line, that horse will never be 8-1. That could have been a situation, how Saratoga is. Love it or dislike it. Some horses just love it. That's the angle that I was taking with Epicenter. A lot of people are just, Epicenter's the best 3-year-old in the country. Best 3-year-old. Well, let's put it this way. When Churchill Downs lost to Rich, went to Pimlico, lost to early voting. Now, really excelled at Saratoga now, but it could be a horse that's just similar to a 4-star Dave quick call. I love Saratoga. I will just crush and run 10 lengths better than on any other surface. So keep your eye on that when you're dealing with Epicenter, especially in the Classic, because a lot of people are going to back Epicenter if they're looking to buck Flightline. And definitely, I would take that into consideration. I want to see how this horse trains leading up to the Breeders' Cup before I start, hanging my hat on Epicenter. But I definitely think Gerrymander is in that situation where maybe she just didn't take to Saratoga. I think
a lot of horses
performance here at.
A lot of horses don't take to Saratoga. It's
right.
We know that, right? I mean, every track is a little bit different, but yeah, I love it. 8-1 is right up my alley. And the last 8-1 shot, you gave out one off at 17-1 last time you were with us. So I'm all in with this. I'm ready to go. I can't wait to get in action. I want to talk before we get to your picks in the NFL this weekend. Raiders are received amazing in Las Vegas. I don't even know how you get a ticket, but I can't wait to come out there and try to go to a game. Have you been to the stadium?
No, I have not, and I'm a Las Vegas Golden Knight season ticket holder. David. So I have not had a chance to go to Allegiant, but a lot of that is to do with my schedule, running the Race It Sports operations. Sundays are very difficult. It would be more feasible to get, one on a Monday night. I'm going to start definitely asking Michelle, our general manager, and maybe even hit up Michael Dawn over at South Point, see if they can, what do I have to be, Chris Andrews to get a ticket? But, I'm definitely going to start asking Michelle over upstairs, could you get me a Raider ticket here? Could I have a Sunday off? But it was fabulous. I'll tell you, I spent a lot of time at Del Mar in the summer, so I definitely have good vacation time. But Allegiant Stadium, I have heard nothing but great reports, David. I mean, whether it's a concert or whether it's a football game, I've heard that it is one of the most state-of-the-art facilities there is out there. I know they keep it up. I know several ushers that come into the casino that work there, and they just have, such a fondness for the ownership. Mr. Davis treats his employees so well, and that stadium is just the pride and joy right now of Las Vegas, similar to T-Mobile, which is off the hook as well. I mean, watching a hockey game in T-Mobile is very comparable to the Montreal Forum of the old days, or Madison Square Garden, which I have frequented, numerous times, and definitely T-Mobile is just right there. It's a fabulous facility, and I know Allegiant has to be off the hook as well, and I just can't wait to enjoy a game there, and I definitely will make a point of it. I know the tickets are a little excessive, naturally, David, because you have people from all over the country coming to still the entertainment and gambling capital of the world. So it does raise the prices of the median tickets. But I do know Vegas Golden Knight games are definitely reasonable at times. If you shop around, you could get Golden Knight tickets. And, I know if you do shop around, eventually the Raider tickets will come back down to earth. You got to remember, it's only the second year in the stadium. So.
Well, I have adopted the Raiders. Anything to do Las Vegas, I love. I mean, and I do. We lost our Rams, and I'm no longer a Rams fan, so I have adopted the Las Vegas Raiders as my team. I actually bet them at 40-1 to win it all this year. I had a little rough game last weekend. Serious breakdown late. There was a lot of serious breakdowns this last weekend in the NFL. I mean,
yes.
The Miami game was incredible. I mean, you got a minute to talk about this past weekend before we get to your picks for this weekend?
Of course. Let me tell you, Tua Tagovailoa was just amazing. 6 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, now he's starting to back the talk that Tua is comparable at times to Patrick Mahomes. I won't go that far yet. I still think Mahomes is the best athlete in the NFL. But, this guy looked fabulous. When you're putting up 6 touchdowns and against the Raven defense, it wasn't like it was a mediocre defense. This is another superstar-laden team led by Lamar Jackson. And they had a big, big lead early, and they came back. So very impressive Miami was. The Raiders, it was more Kyler Murray just working magic. I'll be with you. I think the Raider play calling, leaves a little to be desired, David. I think they have to be a little more forceful. Devontae Adams only had, for a large portion of the game, 2 receptions. Renfro had 2 big fumbles down the stretch. The Raiders' ticket count has been off the hook, whether it's week 1, week 2, Super Bowl. It is the largest ticket count at the Rampart and South Point, comparable to the Buffalo Bills. So, in your neck of the woods, you actually got a good deal when you're getting 40-1, whereas at my shop, the odds were much more reined in. We made adjustments, though. Now it's very tough to go 0-2 in this league. And, the Chargers do seem to be a little better, in my opinion, than the Las Vegas Raiders. As long as Herbert is healthy, the Chargers are definitely a top team. We know Kansas City is monstrous, and Buffalo as well. So it's going to be a long climb in the AFC for the Las Vegas Raiders. They have a great running attack. I'll be honest with you, 2 solid, options. I think Jacobs has to be a little more involved. Naturally, like I said, Adams has to be a little more involved, and Carr has to play better. He missed Waller a couple of times across the middle. He has to be more efficient. He fumbled away game 1. Granted, he was getting crushed right there at the end of the game. But he has to play better. The coaching staff has to be better with the play calling. But we're still going to get get an immense amount of Raider tickets regardless. Like you said, Dallas, they really earned that victory last week.
Yep.
That was the last second field goal. Another game came right down to the wire. All the credit to Cooper Rush. He played really, really well. And the defense
Really well.
is monstrous. I'll be honest with you. Mike is monstrous. Diggs shut down those wide receivers. That was huge. I said that all of the game. If Diggs could perform as well as he did last year, the defense will this game, which they did. A lot of buzz now with Josh Allen, a lot of buzz with Jalen Hurts. They were fabulous on Monday night. I wouldn't be that sold, not just because I'm a Cowboy fan, but the Eagles, keep an eye. Let's not get overinflated on this team. A couple of injuries here and there. This is the NFL level, similar to Dak Prescott. Something happens to Brown, something happens to Hurts. They are right back to the pack. They are not that great beating a Minnesota team that never wins on the center stage. Kirk Cousins' record on televised games. So I want to see a little more Philly, but they're very impressive. Tampa Bay, we know. The GOAT, Tom Brady, he still gets it done. Yeah. It's amazing, whether he has medical problems. No wide receiver. David, how fabulous is this guy? And now
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, he ended the Saints streak now. The Saints were unbeatable against them, and now all of a sudden he ended that streak. So Tampa is still a monstrous team. I want to see when they get Godwin, Jones, and Evans out there on the field, a healthy Fournette who's starting to work into game shape, and even out of game shape, he could control the game. So, an excellent defensive mind coach is still on the sideline. So the coaching staff is incredible there. I still think Tampa is one of the best teams in football.
All right, man. I want to get in action this week. I know you got some picks. I'm a parlay guy myself. I want to string some together, maybe round robin, maybe some teasers, but I need some teams to work with, Dwayne. So what do we have?
Let me tell you. Let me pull up my selections right here. Starting with the Thursday night game, I'll tell you, I think that's a layoff game. I'll be honest with you right now, David. I mean, it's just so difficult. Your starting quarterbacks. So will come out. Definitely a factor. I don't like the Patriots getting the points, but the Ravens might have a chip on their shoulder, to be honest with you. It's sitting at a field goal. We're getting good two-way acts, much improved last week, and that could be definitely a letdown for the Ravens because of the letdown they had with that huge lead. And we've seen this synonymous with Lamar Jackson. He has to be interested. He turned down a massive contract, and you have to keep his interest, and he has to be focused. He looked fabulous. Week 2, it really wasn't all on him. He had a great game, and, he's doing the best with what he has. But I definitely think that the Patriots, especially if you're looking at a tease or a round robin at home, if you could tease it up to 9 points, I mean, that's substantial. And the Patriots will improve each and every week under Bill Belichick. The next game is the heavy hitting matchup. We're getting crushed again with Buffalo money. I'll be honest with you. We opened it at 4.5 at the Rampart in South Point, David. It is now 6.5. Total is 52.5. So, I mean, it's incredible the way Allen Diggs is now the superstar wide receiver in the league. 3 touchdowns, on the center stage. This guy is unbelievable. Buffalo is well coached. The defense is incredible. And, I don't believe the defense was really tested over the past weekend. A lot of offensive liabilities on the opponent there. The head coach, Vrabel, he's confused now. He doesn't know what's going on. So Tennessee definitely took a few steps back without a doubt, and I expected Buffalo to cover that game, in my opinion. You did have some of the sharps that were looking for the 10.5 and the buyback, but Buffalo was definitely in no position starting the season at home against Tennessee to lose. Keep that in mind. This is the big matchup. This is definitely a spot where there is less pressure on Tua, and at home, anything could happen. They came back, and if they don't seal off Tyreek Hill, he's going to destroy you. and there's a lot. Miami made a lot of good offseason acquisitions that flew under the radar.
Yeah.
And they definitely, this game gets to 7, a key number, David. I would take the 7. I'll be honest with you, especially at home. I love a touchdown underdog at home. And Buffalo's not just going to beat everybody by 50. Let's keep that into consideration. Okay, moving on down, Cincy and the Jets. That's a tough game. I think Joe Burrow wants to right the ship. I don't know how long these Jets could continue to play well. That was scoring 2 touchdowns in like 2 minutes. Onside very, very lucky. They destroyed my teaser, David. So I was very upset. I had a huge teaser going, and that was the one loser on the ticket. It's the NFL. That's what it's about. So I'm going to lay off that game. Saints and Panthers, we currently have the Saints -3. Total is 40.5 in this game. Another game where Jameis Winston reverted his old ways, and you have Baker Mayfield on the other side. I mean, how long is he going to start? He's like 32nd in efficiency, 26th in, percentage, just putting up terrible numbers, but it's not a good team. Let's put it that way. Despite them being home, I mean, this line is very, very low. I want to look at the injury report. I don't know how Kamara's health is. I don't know, how Thomas's health is. So I'm going to watch the injury report on this game because the Saints are capable of a blowout here, believe it or not. I mean, that's still a solid team. They played a great game, despite Tampa getting away really late. It was very competitive, that game. So I think the Saints are a much better team than the Panthers. I would actually see this 4.5 come closer to game time, past the key number of 3. I'll be honest with you, David. So I definitely like the Saints in that game. Next game, division rivals. Lions are much improved. Vikings, now we opened it at 7. Now it's down to 6. Naturally taking some Lion money here. They're much improved. So definitely look at that side. Excellent coaching staff. If you watched Hard Knocks, these guys, they're very active and vocal, and, they want to win. And especially offensive coordinator Deuce Staley, he really brings another dimension to that team and is going to motivate Jared Goff and that team. So, I think Cousins usually at home is a much better player. It's not on national TV, so that'll help them. But this is a game I would probably lay off, but I would have liked to taken the underdog at the opening number there of 7, without a doubt. Moving on, we have another. The Colts are horrible. I'll be honest with you. I don't think they're coached well. I think Matt Ryan is old. The Chiefs are going to get to a 7.5 point favorite. I'm telling you right now, it's 6.5. I think it's going to exceed the 7 and 7.5. We opened it at 7. I understand the sharps. They're looking for an angle with the Colts. But what is the angle? I mean, Taylor isn't running well. He's been solidified basically in the first couple of games. Matt Ryan isn't playing well. The defense hasn't played well. They have a tie and a loss. We'll see what comes out of it. I'm not betting against the Chiefs in this spot. I would take it right now. I'd be honest with you, under 7, because I think it's going to go over the 7. Raiders and Titans, Tennessee, like I said, definitely a difficult team to get a read on. We're up to 2 now on the Las Vegas Raiders at the Rampart and South Point, but definitely going to be rooting against the Raiders from any standpoint. Any bookmaker in Las Vegas is going to be rooting against the Raiders. To my Las Vegas fans, they'll be on the video wall. Don't get me wrong. Everybody wants to see them win. Like you said, though, a couple of tough games, as did Tennessee had. This is too hard of a matchup to gauge. I know the Raiders are a much better team than what they've performed so far. I would definitely say that the Raiders will get their first victory here, but I'm not sold on it. Not a game I would bet, just because they're on the road and because the other team also is, winless. So we definitely have to keep our eye on that. And didn't they lose to the Giants opening week, the Titans? Yeah, I think the Giants are playing way over their heads. So, I think Tennessee is really not what they used to be. It's unfortunate, the loss of Brown, Jones, all those guys.
Yeah.
Okay, moving forward, the Eagles, everybody's betting the Eagles now. They're the fashionable team. We got crushed. We opened at 4. It's up to 6.5.
Wow.
It's going to be, the ticket count is immense. The money is immense. I don't think it'll get to 7 because then the buyback becomes too much, David. So, I know Chris will keep it under 7 as long as possible because we don't use the vigorish, where we're going to make 6.5 minus 120, minus 130. We don't do that at the Rampart and South Point. We're an old school bookie joint. What we do, it'll go to 7 if the money merits it. That's how it is. We're not going to rape you on the juice like some of these other books out there. So definitely, I could see it maybe getting to 7 because the money is so high, but then we're going to get tremendous buyback on the underdog, especially a touchdown underdog at home. And these NFC divisional rivalries, definitely, Carson Wentz, he's going to play hard against his old team, without a doubt. I mean, he wants to prove something, but are they good enough? That's the whole key. They've been falling behind. Tough game to handicap at this 6.5. I would have bet the Eagles at 4 too, naturally.
Absolutely.
But, that's the selling point. Bears, Texans, horrible game. I mean, I don't think much of Chicago. They reverted right back to themselves last week. Although, I did think he scored on that play where they reviewed it and they said no touchdown, Fields. I thought he did get the helmet in. It's going to be tough, though, for them to really be wins more than 6 games this year. But this is a perfect spot. I mean, they're at 2.5 at home at the Rampart and South Point, sitting at the opener. So we're getting good two-way action. Not an appealing game, in my opinion. Chargers, let's see the injury status of Herbert is what everything is keyed on with this team. If this is a lingering rib injury, he was really taking a pounding in that game, but got the backdoor cover. He's a gamer. He has an excellent wide receiving core, great defense, great running backs. You saw what they did to the Raiders opening week. This is not a game they could afford to lose. Lawrence is improved. Don't get me wrong. They're definitely a strong team. The Jaguars, when you give them a lot of points because they're improved. Coaching staff is improved. You put all that Meyer, slop aside, and definitely they're going to come to play. I hope Herbert is healthy because this kid is magical against a team like this, especially when he's healthy. And, I would favor the Chargers in this game. 7 is the number at the Rampart, total 47.5. Okay,
so real quick before we move forward, I want to ask you, is it the Colts? Is it the Colts playing really bad, or is it the Jaguars much improved, or a little of both?
I think it's a little of both. I mean, the Colts just they couldn't get the running game going. The passing game is going nowhere. I'm very critical at this point of Frank Reich and the game he calls. I don't know if he, ever since late last season when they just played horrible down the stretch, and they were almost a shoo-in for the playoffs, David. It's just carried over, and you don't know if it's mental. If the head coach can't really solidify and solve this problem, there, a lot of people, the coach don't get out on the field. Yeah, well, tell that to the New York Giants. Tell that to Jacksonville. Who have improved, definitely. You could see with Denver. It looks like, the coach doesn't know what he's doing. He's not calling a good game. And you have Russell Wilson and several other great athletes on that team. So the coach is very, very important. And, it ain't like a guy like Rule who takes a bum rap. He's got no talent. What the hell you want this guy to do? These are teams with talent, Denver, the Colts, and they're not putting forth their best foot forward, I want to say. So I think it's a combination, not playing good in the clubhouse. They have to get more, out of Taylor and the defense.
Yeah, how is Russell Wilson at home scoring 16 points against Houston and have to win the game late?
That's terrible. That's
especially
terrible.
With the talent that's around him.
Yeah. And Seattle taught them a lesson. Now, they said he was tipping plays there. I mean, if any team knows, Wilson, it's going to be Seattle. But, I mean, the defense was horrible. Geno Smith was 14 for 14. Geno Smith starts the game perfect. So, these are coaching liabilities, David.
I didn't even know Geno Smith was still playing football, I'll tell you the truth.
There you go. A lot of people thought Love was going to start the game, the guy they traded for. And I kept telling everybody, no, I think it's Geno. And Geno got the start and played pretty well, I'll tell you. And Seattle did not play well. That was on the other hand. So that was definitely the other factor. Denver, I should say, did not play well. Seattle played very well. And Denver did not play well at home. And I think a lot of that lies on the motivation and the plays being called.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Any other picks before we let you go?
Well, let's talk about the Tampa Green Bay matchup. I love Tampa in this matchup. I'll be honest with you. We opened it at 3. I'm looking at it at -1 now. I know Tom is missing a lot of weapons, but eventually Jones or Godwin has got to come back here. I don't know if Green Bay, I'm sold, beating the Bears. That's the same old routine. The Bears, like I said, they just didn't bring anything to the table. Aaron Rodgers owns them. He owns most of that division. It was a tough loss. I think opening week when they stopped them on that 4th and goal, Minnesota was able to seize momentum. And LaFleur, he's not the greatest of coaches either. I definitely think that Tampa's defense will have this rookie, wide receiving core of Green Bay second guessing themselves. And I think Rodgers is going to get hit quite often. I have faith in Fournette running the ball. You saw how well Chicago ran the ball in that game against Green Bay. Fournette is going to be like a deer out there just running Green Bay over. I love Tampa in that game. The Cowboys, I think they really have to bring their A game into Life Stadium if they want to compete because they're riding high, but it's still Daniel Jones. So don't confuse yourself. I think the Dallas defense will shut them down. I like taking points there with my Cowboys. I don't think the season's over yet like everybody was predicting after week 1.
I tell you what, I'm impressed with Cooper Rush so far. I know he's only started 2 NFL games, and I believe he came in relief when Dak got hurt. He's been done nothing but really well, and let's see what the future holds for him. I don't think the Cowboys out by any sense of the imagination. No. I'm not a fan of, or I'm not a fan, not a not fan, right? It's just I'm also impressed with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. I thought they played really well Monday night. Minnesota a lot drop passes. But that's every game, right? That's part of the game. But Philadelphia absolutely in full control of that game Monday night. Jalen Hurts looks really good. Washington Commanders. I would prefer to see Heineke behind the wheel.
Right.
I'm not a big Wentz guy. I don't know how you feel about that. I know you're very familiar with that division, right? Growing up in New York, right? Giants.
Definitely.
Are you a Giants fan at all? Jets fan?
No, Cowboys. I'm a Cowboy fan.
You're a Cowboys fan.
Yes.
All right. So from New York. We like the Cowboys. We like the LA Dodgers, and we like the Golden Knights.
Right.
What's going on, Dwayne?
Montreal Canadiens. Don't forget my Canadians, Cowboys. Only New York team is the Knicks. And they haven't won since the year I was born.
Can you even go home? Are you allowed to even go home anymore? What's going on?
It took a lot of lumps, David. Let me tell you. Those Met Dodger series and, the 80s and, then definitely the Cowboys. Luckily, the Cowboys got the upper hand in the 90s, and then I moved out here in Vegas, so I didn't take the beating that I should have taken with that. And, most of the teams, I was always a Montreal Canadian fan. My dad raised me on that. But, I have no ill will against the New York Rangers. I've seen more games in Madison Square Garden than any other arena. I'm getting close now with T-Mobile because I've had season tickets for so many years, but I love hockey. I'm definitely a hockey fan, and, it was one of the greatest things to see were the Habs actually winning the Clarence Campbell Trophy, the Western Trophy. Quick little refresher. He banned Maurice Richard during the playoffs back in the day. Suspended him. They wrecked the Forum. They went crazy in Montreal. And just to win that trophy and against the Vegas Golden Knights, it was the greatest feeling because I love both teams. Naturally, I'm definitely a Habs fan all the way. But, a tremendous feeling to see that competition. And I really enjoyed that.
All right, Dwayne, I got to let you go. Man, this has been so much fun. I know we could go another couple of hours, but before we let you go, it's on Twitter at New York Bookie Dwayne, correct?
Right. It's right on the video at NY Bookie Dwayne. Tons of Twitter. Also I'm on Instagram, Facebook, easy to connect with. If you have any questions concerning the Rampart Casino, Nevada Gaming, our sports book and how it operates, just always hit me up. The podcast, If M Reverse, it's sports gambling and horse racing. We have half and half, and very, proud of that. And also on Tooley's Thoroughbred Takes, like I told you, you want my horse racing selections for Saturdays always, and that's available on Twitter and all over the place. Easy to have follow the links.
What a wealth of knowledge. I do want to know, do you have any idea of when If and Reverse is coming out? Your next one?
Yeah, it's going to come out with before the end of the month. So definitely we're going to have the football recap for the first few weeks, and I will have that up before the end of the month. And definitely I will have a Breeders' Cup special, as I always do, on If and We break down the 2 days, because we hold a seminar at the Rampart, but it's on the Friday.
Tell me when.
So, it doesn't cover the Friday, which is just as important when you're a horse racing gambler and definitely handicapper. So I do an If and Reverse that covers all the Friday and Saturday races. And we have the seminar as well. And I also will have one probably published early next week for the football, David. So thanks for promoting that.
Oh, are you kidding? I mean, like I said, what a wealth of knowledge, and I enjoy having you so much. I enjoy talking to you.
Yeah, we're going to take a 2-minute break.
All day.
Try to give Ryan an extra
Dwayne Colucci, Rampart Casino, Race and Sportsbook Manager, thank you for joining me.
Thank you, David. It's always a pleasure. And, it's great to rub elbows with somebody who loves horse racing as much as I do and as knowledgeable as you are as well.
Well, we'll definitely have to get on that right before Breeders' Cup.
Definitely.
All right. Take care, Dwayne.
All right. Thank you.
50-minute interview. All right. I'm going to.
Oh, Jesus.
And that.
We can be guilty of that.
Yeah.
Time to time,
We're going to.
David.
Are we on? All right, guys. That was my interview with Dwayne Colucci from the Rampart Casino in Las Vegas. He is fantastic, and he has given me an invite a little later this year to come out, and hopefully we can do a live show. Right to my right is Britt Williams. Good morning, Britt.
Good morning, David.
How was that traffic this morning?
Awful. I actually heard that Missouri drivers are like the second worst in the country. I believe it.
We had a little extra detour you had this morning, and we're still waiting on Ryan Kinder's going to be joining us. We're going to take a break in just a second, but we'll give you a chance to collect yourself and catch your breath, and hopefully Ryan's here by the time we get back. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break. We'll be right back.
Domination.
All right. Hey, we're back here live from DraftKings at Casino Queen. Directly to my right is Britt Williams. On the other side, our magic maker, Ryan Kinder, Mr. Handicapper, absolutely on fire with his picks. Ryan, I don't know how you do it. Nevada, you said they weren't going to score.
I mean, we knew it going in, but that was another good hit.
Excuse me. All right, Albert, Apple TV. We don't get to see it. What happened? Britt, you first, man. I don't know what to talk. I don't know what to say. Oh, everybody knew it on their phone before we saw it on TV.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. He hit that one off the first lefty in the third inning, and I was watching something else on TV, and I was like, okay, well, I got probably about another 10 or 15 minutes before I need to, switch to the game because I can get the game. And then he hit one in the very next inning. I was so mad. It might be the single greatest Cardinal moment I've ever missed in my entire life, and I couldn't be more upset about it.
Ryan, we were together last night, and I got to hear from some guy in the corner of where we were at. Albert hit 700, and then you got to wait 5 minutes for the replay.
Yeah, I couldn't figure Apple TV out. I was trying on my phone. I was on break. It hurt my conspiracies because I told them that they would wait till St. Louis. The balls were juiced, and it would definitely happen in St. Louis, but I was wrong, and I missed it as well.
All right, Brett. I got to know, do they microchip these balls? Seriously? I mean, that we had all that conversation we had last night where Ryan and I were at, and people say these balls pitched to Albert were microchipped. Do you know anything about that? Or
I've never heard of that, but this is Major League Baseball where they have made the balls more juicy and then less and then more and then less slick. And so it wouldn't shock me if it's microchipped. I think that would be the smartest thing if they ever want to ensure that they get the correct ball.
Yeah.
Just all the counterfeit stuff that happens from time to time with memorabilia. So it wouldn't shock me if that's the case. I'm just still upset that it had to be a Dodgers fan that caught this ball. How?
Well, do we know that for sure?
I mean, it was a sea of blue over there, so
okay.
it's just so frustrating that that's what had to happen for Albert's 700th, since we have essentially seen his entire career.
Yeah.
We gave him the resurgence this year with after having him in the All-Star game and the home run derby, and it's like this has been like St. Louis's dream all season to see him hit this home run, and it happened at the Dodgers. Like, God, only thing worse that could have happened, it would have been like the Red Sox or the Cubs. Like the Dodgers, my word.
But I'm just thrilled it happened.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have any super doubts, especially coming off the All-Star break. It's like, oh, it's happening, because he hit 6 home runs before the All-Star break, and then him coming through that home run derby, it's like he figured out the power in his swing again.
Yeah.
So it's pretty incredible. No one has hit more home runs after the All-Star break except Aaron Judge, who's now hit 60, 61. So I mean, that's incredible. He's hitting 319 after the All-Star break. He's done this in 48 games, 15 home runs in 48 games. That's like year one Albert numbers. It's insane.
All right, so Britt, I gotta say they sent your guy down to the minors.
They did, but he's been up all season, and
Yeah.
he's had some really impactful moments. He had that like game-winning hit in Arizona. He's made some incredible defensive plays. We switched him for Yepes, which I've been wondering when's Yepes coming back up, considering the tear he was on when he was up here. So while Gorman is down, I don't think that will define his career. I just think they have figured him out up here now. So it's just time to retweak, and I think we'll see him full-time next year.
Ryan, what do you think about Switch?
Yeah, I think I think the pool host chase obviously hurt Nolan Gorman too, because some of those at bats he would have been getting to get back on track. Between him and Brendan Donovan being hot, I think now that the chase is over, it's better to focus on team goals, and I think he'll find it again. He was awesome to start the season.
All right, Britt, I know you want to talk a little bit about Aaron Judge and the Triple Crown chase.
Yes, I think he's gonna do it. He's leading in average. I think the only thing he might be behind is maybe 1 or 2 RBIs, but if he keeps hitting bombs, I mean, who's gonna stop him? I just think it's quite interesting that before like August, we were talking about Goldie potentially being the Triple Crown winner, and everyone just kind of forgot about Judge. I mean, they knew he was chasing home runs and that kind of stuff, but no one was really talking about the fact that he's leading in most categories, or like right underneath. And I think we're gonna see the first AL Triple Crown and MVP winner since Miggy Cabrera.
Wow. Long time.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Well over 100 RBIs this year if Goldie wasn't clearing the bases right in front of him. I mean, he's right on the round 300. He's got 30 home runs. So it's like we have 2 MVPs on our season, on our team, which reminds me of the MV3 back when we had Edmonds and Roland and Pujols all together. Like, we are a dangerous lineup, and it just kind of happened. Like, we always knew that Goldie and Arenado were good hitters, but it seems like everyone around our guys are still like hitting, and you kind of have to pick your poison right now. I mean, do you want to walk both of them and get to Pujols, who's one of the hottest hitters in the league right now? Like, you want to do so. I think as long as our pitching can hold, we are going to have a fun October.
Yeah, Ryan. I mean, the Cardinals, I mean, I always say for real. I mean, they're for real. They have the best record in baseball since the All-Star break. This is I go back to 2011 and that crazy run.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a better team or not, but they were still the same kind of odds with that team.
Right.
Going
often
into the
who's
playoffs.
hottest going into the playoffs, and I'm glad to see we're streaking again, because we weren't hitting there for a minute, and we were focused on other things like Albert 700. We sat a couple of our players, getting new guys in there, but I don't like letting off at the end of the season. I think that's the time you got to get as many wins as you can, because it's often who's hottest, not who's the best, winning that World Series.
I think what also is telling of if we're legit or not is when we're scoring all game. Cardinal history, we have a lot of teams where we score either like in the first 2 innings or we score the last inning. But when we're scoring throughout the game, we're hanging crooked numbers, as we like to say as baseball fans. When we're hanging crooked numbers throughout the game, we are dangerous. We have one of the best closers in the league. I'm going to have to knock on wood so I didn't just jinx Helsley. But our bullpen has been fairly solid. Some guys have had some bad runs, and they're kind of correcting that now with like Gallegos. But if we can get solid starting pitching, we are dangerous. I mean, we just hung 10 runs on the Dodgers.
I know, right? Yeah.
A team we're not supposed to be able to hit. Like, their pitching is essentially what has carried them. Because, yeah, they score a lot of runs, but most of their, like, stud guys are having bad years this year. They're hitting, like, 260, which is very uncharacteristic for that offense. So I think we are a October white magic, as we like to say, devil magic team this year. With Pujols, with Donovan, all these unknown guys or guys who shouldn't be doing it anymore. Look out.
Ryan, anything to add before we move forward with the Cardinals?
No, I completely agree. I'm looking forward to it, because I think the Dodgers are the best team. But other than that one-game playoff last year, we seem to play the Dodgers. We own them. So I think that, I like our chances this year.
Bring me Kershaw.
Well, it seems like we don't own the Dodgers in the playoffs, but we certainly play well. I'm not afraid of them. Right?
Yeah, that's one team that I'm like, I don't want to see the Dodgers before the World's or like the championship series. No, show me the Dodgers anytime. I have zero fear of the Dodgers. They're a great team, but we have a history of playing them in the playoffs, and minus the Matt Holliday drop fly ball.
Yeah,
I know where
I was. I know exactly where I was in that moment, and I'm like, this guy, really?
I know, and he's a Hall of Famer for the Cardinals. He's a legit player. He just had a really bad moment.
Hey, Ryan, was it you that asked me? I don't remember who asked me this. I think it was you that asked me, would I rather have a World Series or Albert hit 700?
Yeah.
Well, now I don't have to make that choice, and let's get both, right?
You might get both. Wouldn't it just be a poetic ending for Albert and Yachty to go off as champions?
Oh, Wainwright too.
Come on.
Right?
Wainwright hasn't officially announced.
Oh.
But I think if he goes out a champion, he's hanging him up. I mean, what else do you want?
I mean, they all three have to go right under the sunset, don't you think?
I'm hoping so. I mean, I love Waino, but like, it's time. It's time.
Dude, how many people can just one more minute on this, but reinvent themselves like that?
Yeah, that just shows the kind of competitor he is. He refuses to lose, which is what makes him a Cardinal. Like, we just have that grit in us. But I'm happy for him, because the year that he was garbage, I'm like, my God, don't bring him back. He's terrible. And then he had like almost a Cy Young type season, 2 years ago or whatever. So, I mean, for him to come back and his curveball looks awesome. He's figured out something different with his fastball to where it cuts more instead of just like going down the middle is what hurt him before. And his ability to command is it's been incredible to see a 40-year-old pitcher do that.
So much fun to talk Cardinal baseball. I want to switch over to the NFL. We got to talk a little NFL. Britt, I don't know if you have a favorite team in the NFL, but let's start with that.
I do. It's the Colts, and they're terrible. I had so much hope for Matt Ryan to at least give our offense some life.
So did Ryan and I.
Oh my God. It's been terrible. It's been so disappointing. It's almost like how could you have been a Super Bowl quarterback, 2 years ago or 3-4 years ago? Like, where did it go?
It seems like you always think you guys are one quarterback away, and no matter who the quarterback is, you're still one quarterback away.
It's because we refused to draft a quarterback. I don't know what it is, but I'm not a fan of this front office. We lost luck because we refused to put an O-line around him because it was, quote unquote, too expensive. And we couldn't keep everybody else. Like, you're right. Now you can't keep Luck because he kept getting killed.
Yeah, and that's why he retired.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, he got a lacerated kidney in one of the games.
Right. I mean, I don't blame him for retiring him, right? If you're not going to put anyone around him to protect him, he's like, okay, I made my money. I played my NFL career. I'm done.
Yeah, that poor kid. I mean, in my opinion, Cincinnati is running that risk with Joe Burrow right now.
Yeah, for sure.
He's getting sacked 6 times plus a game. Like, that's ridiculous. He can't even sneeze before he's getting people in his face. So, I mean, Cincinnati, and I know that they added 2 O-linemen in this offseason trying to boost this line. It ain't working. So, if you can't do it with the personnel, then that coach needs to go. Like the O-line coach, bye. You haven't figured anything out. You're gonna get Burrow killed.
What do you okay, what do you like what you see in the NFL so far?
I'm intrigued with some of the high power offenses that we didn't actually anticipate. I mean, I think we knew Tua was gonna be good. I'm still not convinced that he is the real deal because
I agree with you.
the Ravens let off the gas.
Yeah.
I've never seen a team just be like, all right, we're coasting with all these weapons on the other side. We're just gonna not play defense anymore. Because they didn't like score. Like their offense just like was going through the motions in the second half until they actually had to like move the ball, and all of a sudden we're kicking a field goal. I'll be curious to see what happens this week. Now I know the Buffalo Bills defense is beat up a little bit, but you still got Von Miller pressuring Tua, and it's still the Bills defense as a whole. So in my opinion, this week determines A, if Tua is legit, and B, if the Bills are going, like, if they're the Super Bowl contender for real. Because they've had some games where it's just like they're dominating, but who are they really playing? They haven't really played anybody like really good yet. So, in my opinion, this is the first real test for the Bills in Miami, which is tough.
Yeah, Miami's one of the teams that I've always really liked, and I'm not sold on Tua either. I want to see put a couple together before I'm a believer. And man, they do look good though.
Tua reminds me a lot of Mike Vick in his early career, where he has an absolute cannon and he can move, but can he be accurate with the cannon? And heaving the ball downfield the 50 yards for Tyreek or Waddle to just go get, that's not accuracy. Like that's not what quarterbacking is about. It's about being fitted into the hole.
Yeah. Ryan.
So we'll see.
Ryan, what do you think about Miami?
I think they're pretenders. I think Tua was maybe Mike Vick after his prison stint coming straight out. That I maybe compare them there, but I'm not sold on Tua. I think they would have been a better team, running out Franklin out there or anybody. There was a lot of vets to get, and they're sold on Tua.
Where's Fitzpatrick?
That's what I said. Fitzmagic came out there.
No, I think it was time for him to retire 2 years ago.
There's a lot of vets they could have picked up,
Yeah.
and they didn't. They're sold on Tua, and I think Brian Flores lost his job, not being sold on Tua. So they're definitely a franchise that's sold. They're backing Tua, and I just don't think he's I think he had some luck in Alabama with Nick Saban being his coach. That some of these college quarterbacks, when it's almost hard to mess up what Nick Saban's got set up down there.
Can you name the best Alabama quarterback that's come out of there in the last 10 years?
I have to think about this, Ryan.
That's been successful, like legitimately successful based on a championship run.
I don't know. I was going to say Mac Jones.
Yeah.
You said
you
that.
Can't.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Mac Jones, I'm really impressed. Last year was really impressive. I mean, they didn't let him even do much last year, and I thought he was really good.
Mac Jones is a game manager
Right now.
He was last year too. Let's not forget how the Patriots work. The first 6 weeks, they look like they have no idea what they're doing. They find ways to win a couple games close, and then the second half of the year, they figure out this Belichick magic, cheating. I'm sure it has to be cheating, but figures out this Belichick magic to where they look like a good team. In the back half of the year, they do great. So that's what I assume is going to happen again this year. Me and my husband Jared have beef on this because he's like, the Patriots are terrible. I'm like, just wait a few weeks. We say this every year.
Yeah.
But I'm not convinced that Mac Jones is like the truth. I mean, he doesn't really throw deep balls. They don't really have any weapons for him to throw deep balls to. I mean, they have what's that young kid, Jacoby Myers or something. Like he's not that good. Where they don't have the stretch the field kind of weapons. He'll just continue to hand it off, throw the flat route passes, and they'll figure out ways to win. But it's not going to be because of Mac Jones. It's never because of Mac Jones.
Oh, I thought he actually looked pretty good yet last year for what they allowed him to do. I'm okay with taking the 1, 2, 3 year approach before they let him loose.
I think Bill Belichick wants a game manager
Yeah.
because I
Correct.
think he wants, his defense is going to win him those games. So don't give up the ball. protect the ball. If you put up 21, we'll win you the game.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of, managing the game, well, I want to manage my pocketbook.
Yes.
So I want to get into some wagering. And Ryan, I know we got to back up a little bit to college because we're not going to talk a whole lot about college, but I want your college picks for the week because as soon as this show is done, I'm going to be heading. We're live here, DraftKings at Casino Queen, and I'm going to be making my wagers. Ryan is at an absolute fire right now, and what do we have, Ryan? Let us have it.
All right, my favorite pick of the week is going to be North Carolina -1.5 versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame is just, they are terrible.
They're posers.
They should be 0-3. California let them off the hook.
Yeah.
A better team, they're starting 0-3. North Carolina's known to let up a game they shouldn't. They were down in the Georgia State game. They came back. They're 3-0. I think they're over the hump, and I think this is their year. They're going to stop Notre Dame. That's one I would be safe moving the line. -1.5. I like it. I'm going to move it to -6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No, wait, Britt, I don't know if you heard. But 2 weeks ago, he said move the line 18 points on an over-under game, and he nailed it, and he picked the exact final score.
Dang.
Ryan is on fire. Last week, he said Nevada may not even score a point, 27-0 Iowa. Take the under. And let's talk about this real quick, Ryan. 33.5 on the under in the Iowa game this week. They finally caught on, but that might
they're catching on. And you know what? I don't even think that's a big, that's about right. A lot of people think it's a big, an over adjustment. I'm thinking this game's probably a 14-10 final, 14-7. Iowa does not score points, but they don't let up, if they can score 10 points, I think they'll win the game. Their defense might be the best in the country.
Well, right now, yeah, man, we've had some great handicapping on the show. You and Clemson, James Scully, man, you guys are giving out big winners, and we're riding the train right now. That's all I got to say. We're gonna go back to the NFL. You have any more college picks before we move on to the NFL?
Yep. My last pick is going to be number 10 Arkansas +2 against Texas A&M. Texas A&M, dropped a game to Appalachian State. I don't know all the love they get. They lose 3 or 4 games every single year, and we always, tout them as a national champion, hopeful, and they come out there. Their championship every game is trying to beat Alabama, but they drop these games every year. And, I like Arkansas, really good coach team, Sam Pittman. I think they're going to don't take the points, take a money line. It's not a bit, you're not getting a lot of points anyway. Take the risk, take the extra points.
Yeah,
for your,
take the plus
for
money.
Your pocketbook.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. All right, moving on to the NFL. And tomorrow, a lot of great games. Ryan, let's start with your picks, and then we'll get to Britt's picks.
All right. I think the most interesting game of the week is the Raiders -2.5 with the Titans because, I think there was I cannot remember how many teams started the year 0-2 last year, but none of them made the playoffs. So 0-3, even a bigger hole. And, one of these are two, that have big dreams. One of them's going to start 0-3. I like the Raiders in this game.
I'm glad you do because I don't want to go 0-3 and throw my ticket in the trash. Because I've been touting ever since we started this show. I've been touting the Raiders is a value play at 40-1. 0-2. They should have won last week. There's no excuse for that. I'm still pretty little upset about that.
Once they get Devontae Adams, more involved, there's forcing the ball a little bit. Josh Jacobs is a great,
They can't wait any longer though. Got to win.
Cannot wait.
This is almost a must win for them, right?
I agree. I think week 3. It's crazy to say a must win, but it's a must win.
I think that you will see that Devontae Adams targets this week because I don't think Hunter Renfro's playing, and that's like one of Carr's favorite targets in the slot. So I think it's going to require him to stretch the field a little bit, and realistically, just throw it up to Devontae. He will get it.
Yeah,
you don't have to be that accurate.
Yeah, that was one of the things, though. I was hoping that, like, all three, Waller, Adams, and Renfro would stay healthy because you can't double everybody, right? So he was going to be able to get out. Now, when one's down, it makes it a little more difficult to get him the ball. either one of them because they can double them. But all right, we're taking the Raiders -2.5.
Yes, sir.
All right, what else we got?
I'm going to switch up from what I said yesterday. I know I gave out the Vikings over the Lions, but I'm starting to feel that might be a trap game. So I'm actually going to go with the 49ers over the Broncos. The Broncos, I think they're pretenders as well. Russell Wilson, he's a good quarterback, but I don't know what they're doing. They are horribly coached.
Oh my goodness.
Some of the worst clock management I've ever seen.
Did you guys see the towards the end of the game where Peyton and Eli were like watching the game? They're like, call timeout, call timeout, call timeout, call timeout. They like for 60 seconds they were saying, call timeout, call timeout. It's just incredible how bad their coaching is. Does he last the full season?
I don't know. I believe he said it was easier on Madden, and I think that's where he should stay, back on Madden. A lot of these coaches, you get a veteran quarterback that makes you look like you're an offensive guru, but usually it's the vet quarterback making you look like a genius. There is some, but I think, him being Peyton Manning's coach helped him look great.
I'd also say that I've never been a believer in Russell Wilson. So when they picked him up, I was like, well, this will be interesting because the Broncos defense isn't as good as it used to be. And Russell Wilson is not this quarterback that people like to pose him as. Think about the Super Bowls that he's won.
Yeah.
Was it because of him? I would argue no.
Yeah.
It's usually the defense that keeps them in the game. He's a game manager, and he gets lucky sometimes with like having DK Metcalf just like throw it up to him for him to go get it. And he can throw a deep ball, but in terms of just think about the consistent passing he does not possess. It's not like he's consistently throwing 70% completion rate and like dinking and dunking all over the field where he's just picking defenses apart. That's not how Russell is successful. So I'm really not shocked that the Broncos aren't very good. And I agree. It's Jimmy G's time again.
Yeah,
and
I'm very happy about that.
People are about to realize, like, Trey Lance, who?
Yeah, but I'm not happy. Obviously, got injured. I'm happy to see Jimmy back in under center because I think he's the better quarterback right now, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the 49ers do with him.
Yeah,
because their defense is amazing.
I don't know what the odds are for George Kittle to get a touchdown tomorrow, but I'm gonna go see what that odds is, and I'm gonna play it.
Yeah.
That's his favorite target.
Ryan, you got any more NFL picks?
No, that's those are the games I like. Not making big. I'm gonna be big on the college this week. I'm gonna lay off NFL. There's too many Jekyll and Hyde teams right now. I'm gonna wait and watch a week before I make more picks.
Britt, do you have any picks before we get out of here?
I'd like to just say pound the Chiefs, but they're so far ahead of the Colts. But I think that one's a watch-out game.
I try not to bet with my heart.
That's a watch-out game, in my opinion, because I've seen it before where the Chiefs should be dominating us, and we found a way to figure out and win. And the fact that the Chiefs' run defense isn't that great, and we have the best running back on the Colts team in the league, I think that's a watch-out game. So I don't know what best running back in the league. You heard it here first. He is a stud, and I don't know what the line is, but I would be careful about betting the line. Like, I think it should just be the money line if you're going to bet on the Chiefs. But I also think you should take some player picks and take Kelsey for a touchdown. He's guaranteed to get one because we don't stop tight ends. So I'm more of a picking players to score this week versus who's going to win, because you're right. There's so many like Jekyll and Hyde teams. It's crazy.
And she's right. Even the best players, minus 150 is about the worst odds you'll get on a touchdown. And some of these players, I mean, how do you not see it coming? Cooper Kupp, 8 games in a row. Like she said, tight ends, it's always a smart bet for a tight end anytime touchdown.
Yeah, and you can take multiple players, and then you get even like greater odds. Like, I think I'm probably going to try to find a way to bet like Kelsey getting one, Diggs getting one, and maybe Hill getting one, and seeing the odds that if they all anytime touchdowns, you can see what my odds are going to be. But it'll probably be fairly decent.
All right. Excuse me. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have a nice time with Clemson. John, Britt, Ryan, thank you for joining us. I can't wait to have you guys back.
Thanks for having us, David.
I've got a golden ticket.
That's a winner!
to the Winning Ticket. We are live here at DraftKings at Casino Queen. We're also on 590 The Fan every Friday night, Central Time, 6 to 7, right after Bernie Miklasz. We got to get to Clemson John. He is in Tampa, Florida. Had a chance to talk to him earlier this week. Can't wait to hear what he has to say about all the college football games. Let's get rolling. Here's Clemson John. Hey, John. Good morning, all the way from Tampa, Florida. Love to see your face. How you doing this morning?
Oh, doing good, guys. Thanks for having me again. I'm traveling again, but I'll be back next week live at DraftKings at Casino Queen. So I'll be ready for that. But in the meantime, we do have a lot of action last week, and we got some more coming up, this afternoon, Saturday as well.
All right, before we start with a recap from last week, I got to talk about Arizona State and what's going on. Herm Edwards out. What's going on with that?
Yeah, they just made a good decision probably to, walk away from a coach that's, been around this game of football for a very long time, since his playing days in the NFL. But, his best years are behind him as far as a coach probably. They're wanting to rebuild. There's chatter that they're going after Deion Sanders. The favorite is Mike Norvell at Florida State. He's 2.5 to 1 on the betting line now, and right behind him is a guy who I think is not going to stay at Coastal Carolina a very long time. He's one of the young premier coaches in all of college football, and Jamie Chadwell. So Jamie Chadwell is going to be out of Coastal Carolina in a couple of years at the most, probably. But I really like Jamie Chadwell. I like Coastal. I've been on their bandwagon for several years now. But we'll see what happens in the desert. You're going to hear the big names like the Urban Meyer, a lot of Deion Sanders talk. If anybody can pull Deion from the middle of Mississippi to, get there and rebuild their program, it's going to be a home run hire. Deion Sanders was able to get Travis Hunter, the number one high school football recruit in the country, was able to snag them away from Florida State on signing day and get that kid to put on a Jackson State hat and bring the number one recruit in the country to Jackson State University in. Anybody that can do that obviously is waiting to take a big coaching job for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see who Arizona State picks. That's my team. I know we talked a little bit yesterday about Michigan, so let's do that.
Yeah, Michigan's been scoring points all year. Their first quarter team total overs have been well over 13.5. Their first half lines are going over for them scoring. So, that's another game to look at is Michigan playing Maryland this week. The total for both teams is 13.5 on the first quarter. There's no reason to think that Michigan couldn't score 2 touchdowns against a pretty average to probably bad Maryland team. Maryland might even sneak one in there as well. They like to go fast on offense. So there's no reason over 13.5 wouldn't hit in this Michigan-Maryland game in the first quarter. You could even do alternate game totals if you want to get plus money on like the over for the game. But I like taking the safe bet, which has been hitting all year so far with Michigan, and that's the first quarter overs. So I like Michigan, Maryland over 13.5 in the first quarter.
Yeah, I like that you're able to, basically bet anything you really want. And I like when you find stuff like this, little nuggets, right? Instead of betting the whole game, you find we want to win. That's the whole point is we want to have fun, wagering on the games, but I want to win. And when you find little, nuggets and information like this is exactly the kind of stuff we're looking for. Moving on, man, South Carolina, what's going on there?
Well, the South Carolina Gamecocks are just one of the worst, Power 5 teams in the country. It's been like that for a while, and it's not getting any better under Frank Beamer. It's just it's a dumpster fire in South Carolina right now. The Gamecocks are awful. The Gamecocks have always been the armpit of that state. They may wear the name of that state on their shirt, but Clemson University is always the University of South Carolina. always has been. So there's no reason to think that, South Carolina's not going to cover the spread. This week they're playing Charlotte plus 22.5. Charlotte did beat Georgia State last week. They put up 42 points on the road against Georgia State. So the fact that, South Carolina is laying 22.5 to anybody, it doesn't matter if it's a Sun Belt team or a lower tier team. South Carolina's awful. They should have hired a different coach. Shane Beamer's just wasting time there. It's just, so Charlotte plus 22.5 is going to be the pick here. I don't know why South Carolina is getting favored by 22.5 against anybody.
Notre Dame gets the first win of the year, barely. Last second touchdown. Let's talk about Notre Dame a little bit in the game last week.
Yeah, that new coach at Notre Dame finally got his first win, but they just have no offense. They have no skill players that can move the ball. They're average up front. They're okay, probably up front if they had any skill players. But their quarterback's playing awful. They have no wide receivers that can move the ball. No running backs that have any breakaway speed. They're awful offensively. They were able to keep that Ohio State game close because they just slow it down. But Notre Dame fans are going to be in a long year, in for a long year this year. It's looking like a 4 to 5 win season for Notre Dame. I don't see them making a bowl game. They got a tough schedule. I don't know how they're going to make a bowl game. Their offense is just awful offense in South Bend, Indiana. They're going to North Carolina this week. So North Carolina Notre Dame is going to be the pick this week for -1.5 for North Carolina. This game should be North Carolina -7. I don't know why it's -1.5. I'd love for somebody to tell me why they think that Notre Dame can keep a game close in Chapel Hill in North Carolina when they had to have a miraculous fourth quarter to beat Cal of all teams at home. They're in South Bend, and they had to have a heroic ending to beat Cal. It's just going to be a tough year for Notre Dame. There's no reason to think they're going to beat North Carolina this week. No reason.
So, little story with Notre Dame. I know it's a little Rudy. They need a Rudy, some kind of inspiration, maybe some better recruiting, right? But I'm going to tell you something. A buddy of mine said he needed a little inspiration and never saw the movie Rudy. And he texted me. He watched the movie Rudy, and it got him. It got him where he needed to be. Maybe Notre Dame needs to watch the movie, get some inspiration, and get geared up. Right?
Yeah, it's just going to be a long year. There's no other way around it. They don't have any skill position players that can put the ball in the end zone with consistency. Their defense is going to keep them in the game. It's going to be able to slow the game down, but when you can't put up more than 3 touchdowns against these teams like Marshall and Cal, and you lose at home to Marshall, you look like you're going to lose at home to Cal. I don't know how you're going to be able to go on the road and beat North Carolina. I just don't see it happening.
All right, we're moving on. Penn State and Auburn. Let's talk about last week's game. Penn State, Auburn. What do you got?
Yeah, you froze.
Yeah, we're good. We're good now.
Okay. Go. You want to ask it again?
Yeah. Penn State, Auburn last week. What do you got?
I picked up Penn State -3. There's no reason to think that they wouldn't go down to Auburn and beat Auburn. I picked that, and that was a home run pick there for sure. Auburn has a quarterback in TJ Finley that was at LSU. He was pretty bad at LSU. He transfers to Auburn. He's able to play at Auburn because Bo Nix transferred. Finley's not going to be the answer offensively for them. Penn State just went in there and put 41 points on them, and there's no reason to think TJ Finley was going to be able to put 41 points up on anybody, much less Penn State.
Right.
Penn State's quarterback made some plays, and they were able to put that game away in the third quarter. Really, I love Penn State -3 last week, and we didn't even have to sweat it out.
Yeah, no sweat at all. Those are my favorite kind of bets when you
you don't have to sweat. I like a little bit of a sweat, John. It's the gambler in me. A little bit of
Yeah.
a sweat, a little superstition, goes a long way. We're going to talk about that if we get time a little bit later. I want to move on to the Kansas-Houston game.
We've got a pick this week with two teams that are going to confuse people, but the Kansas Duke game, I'm going to give that pick out a little later. But wow, I'm sitting here thinking I can't believe Kansas goes down to Houston and beats them by 18 points, 48-30, I believe.
Yeah.
Just boggles my mind that the Kansas Jayhawks are 3-0. Their season win total was 2.5.
Unbelievable.
And they're already over it. They go to West Virginia, beat West Virginia, go to Houston, beat Houston. They're putting up points left and right. They put up 40-something points, 50-something points already in games. I mean, this Kansas Jayhawk team is for real, obviously. So there's no reason to think that they're not going to win 7 games this year. I feel comfortable, laying some odds that they're going to win 7 games.
So I got a question. I got a question for you. So I had this question sent in to me, and I don't know the answer yet, and I'll find out if I'm trying to find out the answer to this. If you have a prop bet and like the 2.5 over, and you already bet the over for the season, it's a season-long bet. Can you collect once it goes over, or do you have to wait till the end of the season to collect?
It's going to depend on the book. I know
Right.
DraftKings at Casino Queen, I've cashed tickets on the over in that situation before. So if you're at the right place here at DraftKings Casino Queen, then you'll be able to. But it's going to depend on the book, really. So
Okay.
you'll want to get information on how that's paid out wherever you bet. I hate to give that answer, but it's going to depend on where you're betting. That's the best way to answer it, because I've seen it both ways. I've seen them make you wait until the season's over, and I've seen them go ahead and pay you out. And I've been paid out at DraftKings before doing that.
Well,
So,
love to hear that, right?
Absolutely. It's one of the best places to watch a game, best places to get action in. I've been coming here ever since the day it opened.
Well, I know when you're back in town, or when you're in town, right after we finish the show, we hang out in the sports book, make some wagers, and man, the food. I know I'm getting a little off subject here, but the food here is absolutely unbelievable, and the drinks, man, even better. I absolutely love camping out here for the day and watching sports and making my bets.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Florida, South Florida from last week.
What a heartbreaker for South Florida fans here in Tampa. Just a heartbreaker game. They really outplayed Florida for most of that game. They were they had them there at the end. They're driving late to kick a game-tying field goal at worst. They're around the 10 to 15 yard line on a third down, and the center snaps the ball behind the quarterback. It goes, to the 30-yard line. South Florida jumps on it, and now they go to kick a 48-yard field goal or so. And the field goal holder goes to put the ball down and fumbles the ball on the placement of the kick there. And they miss a field goal to tie that game. Just a heartbreaker there for Jeff Scott in South Florida. But I think it may say a little bit about Florida, though, that they're going to lose 4 or 5 games this year. I think they're going to lose against Tennessee. They had a miraculous win against Utah, the first game of the year. They were underdogs and won that game. But gosh, that was a back and forth game. South Florida had a pick in the end zone. They pick it off in the end zone for an interception. They run it back to the other side of the field, but they had to review it because when the kid caught the ball, he stepped on the out of bounds line in the end zone. So they had to back it up, and South Florida started at the 20. So that kind of killed that drive too. There was a bunch of calls that they're 50-50 calls, and they go against South Florida the whole game. So just a very frustrating game where they outplayed Florida in a lot of facets. But, um, you know, South Florida, we'll see what they're doing this week against Louisville for sure. But, that was a very interesting game to watch on a Saturday night last week for sure.
Yeah. All right. Listen, we got to move on. I want to talk about how to get in action today. I want to do it by time starts. So we have you on at the at the end of the show. So we only have about maybe 15, 20 minutes to get in for the 11 o'clock game. Do you have anything early for us today?
Yeah, we got 3 games early. We got a lot of action here at the 11 o'clock hour. The Duke-Kansas game, I touched on Kansas earlier. Their quarterback, Jalen Daniels, is playing incredibly well. He is 67% completion rate. He's 47 to 70 on the year. Just unbelievable. He's 7 touchdowns, 1 interception on the year. He's got a 60-yard touchdown pass this year, averaging 8 yards per completion. The guy's incredible. Kansas may have found a hidden gem this year. Like I said, I think they're winning 7 games this year. No reason to think they're not. They're going to get their 4th win Saturday. They're going to be 4-0. They're -7 against Duke. I've got Kansas covering the 7 points against Duke. And just going to be an exciting year, I think, for the Kansas Jayhawks. Hard to believe that, but don't be confused, people. This is a Kansas-Duke pick. That's a football game, not a basketball game.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've already hit their over for the year on 2.5 wins as a prop bet. I mean, that is unbelievable. Is absolutely.
And they did it beating West Virginia at West Virginia and beating which I thought was a pretty good Houston team coming back from last year at Houston. So they're putting points up left and right, 40-something, 50-something points every game so far. So they're going to be one of the most interesting teams to follow all year.
Well, I'm going to tell you, this is the big miss by the line makers. This is this is a big miss. So can we explain that somehow?
Well, they didn't have much to go off on Jalen Daniels.
Okay.
This kid's going to light the world on fire, it looks like, this year. Let's see. Last year, he only threw the ball for all 12 games. He only threw the ball 117 attempts. This year, he's already got 70 through 3 games.
Wow.
So they probably didn't know what they were dealing with this kid, but yeah, when you have that where you've got a team like a Kansas or a 2 to 3 win team every year, and all of a sudden they find lightning in a bottle with a quarterback like Jalen Daniels, and there's nothing that can control a game like an athletic quarterback at the college level. I think we've seen that about 5 or 6 years ago with the Louisville quarterback that won the Heisman. That's in Baltimore. He's skipping my mind here. Lamar Jackson, thank you.
Yeah,
Lamar Jackson. We've seen that with Louisville. They started the year with like a season win total of like 4.5 or 5, somewhere in that range. And Lamar Jackson wins a bunch of games and, carries them to a Heisman Trophy winner. So you'll find that where they get these quarterbacks like a Lamar Jackson and this year like a Jalen Daniels that's going to be able to light the world on fire. And the odds makers have no way of seeing that. So outside of Lawrence, Kansas, I don't know if anybody else would have seen it 4 weeks ago either.
Yeah, but also the rest of the team has to be better than expected also for that to happen. I mean, you're talking about a 12 game season and the over unders 2.5. It is. I mean, yes, he's been playing amazing, but something's missed with the rest of the team too.
Well, the thing is, you get a guy like Lamar Jackson or Jalen Daniels. If you would have taken Lamar Jackson off of that Louisville team, they're half of what they are literally at best. And I think we've got another situation here where if you take Jalen Daniels off of Kansas, then I don't think they would have won against Houston. I don't think they would have won against West Virginia. They maybe win against a cupcake in Tennessee Tech. I think they played the cupcake first week of the year. So they're 1-2 without the quarterback coming in. But it's not really it's not too much rushing. They've only ran the ball 27 times this year in 3 games. So that's 9 times a game for 237 yards. So 3 touchdowns on the year rushing the ball. So it's not much of that. So this kid's going to mean a lot to this team, and it's going to be interesting. They're going to be one of the most interesting teams to watch this year.
Yeah, exciting. Absolutely. I know we got some more picks we got to get to. So what do we have?
Yeah, moving on to the next noon game, we've got we talked about USF earlier, but we've got Louisville and South Florida. South Florida is plus 14.5 going on the road against Louisville. I don't know why this is plus 14.5. It's because of the home field advantage thing that the odds makers give too much respect to, in my opinion. I think that Bohannon for USF is going to move the ball. He transferred from Baylor after winning a Big 12 title game against Oklahoma State last year. But Bohannon's going to be able to make some plays against Louisville. They're going to score some points. There's no reason to think that they're not going to have a shot to win this game when they just went to Gainesville, Florida, and should have at least tied Florida to put it in overtime. Could have very well beat Florida. So there's no reason to think they're not going to cover 14.5 points against a very average Louisville defense.
Yeah. All right. I love going to the stadium at Louisville. I know we talked about this yesterday on the radio. Man, right next to Churchill Downs, one of my favorite places to go bet the horses, and just what an experience. And it's within walking distance of the stadium in Louisville. I know you love going there, and you may be making a trip there next month.
The Clemson Louisville game is going to be in Clemson this year, so I'm thinking about covering that one for sure. But I really Clemson plays Louisville. I've went in 2015, 2017, 2019, and I went last year as well. So I've went on all these odd years when 15, 17, 19, and 21 when Clemson plays Louisville. But it's a great environment because you get to go to Churchill Downs, bet the horses, and then literally walk to the football stadium in Louisville. So it's a great environment, man. I love betting the horses. Love going to the Clemson Louisville game all the time, every other year. So it's a really fun experience for sure.
Well, I wish they had a horse track in Death Valley, so be going with you. I think Can we maybe put it on the ballot? We need to put it on the ballot in South Carolina for some horse racing going on. I'm gonna make a phone call and send an email tomorrow and see if we can't make that happen. All right, John.
Fire up the horses and let's get the jockeys ready, David.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, I know you got more, so lay it on me.
Yeah, moving on, that's our 11 o'clock games. So get the action in on those for sure. We've got North Carolina minus 1.5 against Notre Dame. North Carolina is no reason to think that North Carolina is not going to cover and win here. It's a 1.5, so if they're going to win, they're going to cover, 90-something% of the time, of course. But it's just a sad state of affairs for Notre Dame. I'm not bragging on North Carolina. I'm just putting down Notre Dame here because they got to go on the road with a team that lost to Marshall pretty embarrassingly. They could have lost to Cal. They were struggling most of that game. So when you look like that 2 weeks in a row, then that's a bad sign. Pretty dang bad sign there. Because you would think the Marshall upset, when you lose to Marshall the way they lost to Marshall in an embarrassing fashion, you would think that they'd be ready for the next week. They'd have a focused week of practice. They'd be focused for whoever's going to come into South Bend. But, this might be as good as Notre Dame is this year. They have no skill position players. Their quarterback's not very good. Their defense is going to keep them in games. It's going to keep them from being blown out probably, like they stayed in the Ohio State game, first game of the year. But this is not a very good team offensively. And they're going to struggle most of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if they win 4 or 5 games. So North Carolina minus 1.5. No reason to think this wouldn't hit.
Okay. We have more.
Yeah, we've got an interesting one here. Minnesota, the Gophers have one of, if not the best running back in the country, in Mohammed Ibrahim. This kid tore his knee up, I believe, last year against Ohio State in the first game of the year, and he was putting up, I mean, just gashes of yards against the Buckeyes in the first game of the year last year. Looked unstoppable, and he tore his knee up, so he's out all last year. Coming back this year healthy. The kid's just run up and down the field on everybody he's played. So Muhammad Ibrahim, remember that name because he's going to be on fantasy teams when he makes it to the NFL. But there's no reason to think that they wouldn't cover 3 points against Michigan State. Michigan State's looked pretty bad last week against Washington out west. That was one of the late games last week. It was in Washington, in Seattle. So just no reason to think that Minnesota's not going to cover here. They were up, I believe, 35-0 on Colorado at the half last week.
Yeah.
They're a much superior team. Washington handled Michigan State by 10 points last week, I believe. So Minnesota -3 feels really good here. I love Minnesota -3 and Muhammad Ibrahim running the ball. If he wants to transfer to Clemson, we got a spot for him, I think.
Yeah, of course.
I'm a big Muhammad Ibrahim fan.
I absolutely sounds like it. I know we talked yesterday about Charlotte getting 22.5. Are you still on the train?
Yeah, I mean Charlotte Charlotte beat Georgia State last week, 42-41. So Georgia State played South Carolina in the first game, and South Carolina wouldn't have covered against Georgia State if they wouldn't have had blocked punts and special teams mistakes happen, and crazy luck things that allow them to cover against Georgia State somehow. But they've looked awful this year. South Carolina is just a dumpster fire. It is the armpit of that state, and I would love nothing more than to see Charlotte beat and upset South Carolina Saturday. That would be incredible. I mean, I don't see them winning the game, but if you think South Carolina is going to beat somebody by 22.5 this year, I don't see how that's going to happen. I don't know what you're smoking if you think South Carolina is going to cover 22.5. So, I mean, so we're taking Charlotte plus 22.5 because South Carolina is a dumpster fire.
I know since we talked yesterday, you said you got some more for us today. So little different approach, maybe some first quarter bets. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, Michigan, Maryland over 13.5 first quarter. No reason to think that those two teams can't get 2 touchdowns. Michigan's been, we touched on this earlier. Michigan's been, covering these first quarter bets the last couple of weeks, and we're going to keep jumping on this train until it derails. But Michigan, Maryland over 13.5 first quarter. And then Florida, Tennessee. You got Florida going on the road to Knoxville, and it's a big line. It's 10.5. I'm not comfortable. I think Tennessee's going to win the game. I'm not comfortable laying 10.5 here with Tennessee, but did find some great value in the first quarter over here, 13.5 as well. Not many teams are going to stop Tennessee this year, including Alabama, including Georgia. Tennessee was getting going against Georgia last year. Tennessee was putting points up early, and then they kind of stubbed themselves in the toes with turnovers in the red zone. Just goofy plays that they shouldn't have been trying to make. But they looked like a team that was running up and down the field on Georgia last year. Tennessee did, but they're back again with most of that offense, more experience. So Tennessee's going to be scoring some points this year. I said that 2 weeks ago when they played Pitt. I was all over Tennessee overs, and Tennessee overs came home in the Pitt game, came home last week. No reason to think that they're not going to get off to a fast start. They may cover 13.5 as far as the over by themselves against Florida.
Yeah.
But that's the total for both teams, so we'll take over 13.5 first quarter in this one for sure.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
it. Before we let you go, you got anything else for us?
Yeah, we got one more here. Alabama Vandy. Vanderbilt going down to Alabama to get their yearly butt kicking. Um, but you got to watch Alabama covering the spread as far as the whole game, because Saban will do what Dabo does a lot at Clemson. He'll take the starters out. I remember it was 49-0 last year, one game with Alabama. The spread was 49.5. It's 49-0 at halftime, and Alabama does not cover.
Wow.
52-3 final. So
Wow.
they don't cover by half point. So that's the stuff you got to watch out for the whole game. But we've got the first half over here. Alabama's going to put up a ton of points, over 33.5 for the Alabama Vandy game. First half. That's the first half, not the first quarter, of course. But
Yeah. Are you with us, John?
yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Say that one more time with your last sentence.
Yeah, Alabama Vandy over 33.5.
For the
First half.
first half. John,
Yeah.
I cannot wait to have you back here next week. I know I keep saying it, but I can't wait for you to be back at DraftKings at Casino Queen. Man, so much great information. I'm going to, as soon as the show ends in a few minutes, I'm going to be going to try to get those 11 o'clock bets in. Maybe I'll have you do that for me. I don't know. You're in Tampa. You can't do it for me. Oh my God.
I'll be back Saturday morning, but
I
I'll be
know.
flying into St. Louis.
I gotta find a runner real quick. I gotta find a runner before we get out of here, before these 11 o'clock games starts. John, thank you so much. And like I said, we'll see you back at DraftKings at Casino Queen next Saturday morning, bright and early at 9 a.m. Central Time. John, have a safe flight home, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right, that's John Clemson, John Boykin from Tampa, Florida, back in St. Louis next week. We'll be right back.
All right. That was Clemson John. Man, he had some great information for us. Next week, he's going to be live sitting right next to me. Before we get out of here, I want to thank our guests today, Dwayne Colucci from Las Vegas, Rampart Casino Sports and Racebook Manager. Man, that was fantastic. Britt Williams in the house, Ryan Kinder, Clemson John, and of course, none of this happens without my man Russell Sides on the production end. Until next week, thanks for watching.